Start. So again, if you haven't met me, my name is Chris. Thank you guys for jumping on here with me. And today we're going to go into a little bit about my story, and then I'm going to show you guys how to break down a potential investment property. So again, I got started. Well, let's start from the beginning. When I was in high school, my number one goal was to buy a house. I thought buying a house was the ultimate in financial stability. And so when I was in high school, I took all the steps that I could in order to buy a house when I turned 18. And so what that involved was a lot of educating. And actually through my education, I learned and I found a different niche within real estate. And I want you guys to take something from that. And I'll go into a little bit more later, but just think about that a little bit. Through my education, my goals evolved. So let that sink in while you're listening. So as I was learning a lot about the industry and real estate as a whole, I learned that there are so many different aspects of real estate, and investing became really popular in my mind. I was drawn to it, and I learned that there aren't just houses you can buy, there are units. And when I say units, I mean like apartments or multifamily. We call it multifamily. And that could mean a duplex, a triplex, so that's 2 units or 3 units, a fourplex, or as much as there are people who are buying today like 500 unit apartment buildings, even bigger. And I really, as I was educating myself, I really became fond and I got enamored with the concept of investing in multifamily real estate. And so, again, as I continued my education, my goals evolved. So that's a good thing for you guys to think about. If you're stuck, or maybe you don't know exactly what you want to do, or you don't know where you're headed, just focus on the things that you like. Take a little bit of time and educate yourself on something that you like. And then as you educate yourself, you may find reasons to continue learning about it, or you may find out that you don't like it at all. So that's a little tip for you guys. But so through my story, I actually, as I got older, I put myself in a position, I got in touch with lenders and eventually got pre-qualified and closed on my first investment property, which is a triplex. And I used what's called an FHA loan, and it's a government-sponsored low money down loan program. And so I only had to put down 3. What's up, Raul? Thanks, dog. Thanks for tuning in, man. Hopefully you learned something. Thank you so much. So I got started with the triplex here in the Coachella Valley in the city of Indio. And through that, I fell in love with this idea of investing in real estate. I made the jump, and I've learned so much, and I want to share that with you guys. And I work every day with investors who are who are trying to learn about this industry, and people who like walking by my office. So a couple other key takeaways. It might have gone over your head as you're listening. I'm kind of just getting warmed up here. But one of the things I mentioned was I got in touch with a lender. That's a huge tip for you guys. If you are interested in doing this, in getting involved in real estate investing, one of the best parts about real estate is you don't have to be the one who comes up with all of the money all of the time. And what I mean is that a lot of the times you partner with a bank, and you can use a little bit of your money and combine it with a lot of somebody else's money, like a bank, and it'll help you get your goals a lot faster. So that's what I did. I mentioned I had an FHA loan. That's a low money down. I only had to put down 3.5% of the purchase price because I was going to occupy this home. So it's my primary residence. My intention is to occupy it. And so the government gives you this amazing loan program where I only had to come up with 3.5% down. Okay, so we'll talk about that more later. Another concept that I really want to drill into before we get into the analysis side is this. Okay, your neighbor doesn't value money the same way you do, right? Probably. $500 a month to you or me is a lot of money every month. but maybe to your neighbor, $500 a month is a drop in the bucket. Maybe they're that fortunate. And so what I'm getting at is people have different criteria. You know, for me, I set criteria for my investment, and that's my investing of time and my money. And my initial criteria was I want to get $100 per door per unit. So that's a bunch of numbers, but let me slow it down. We talked about multifamily, and which is, let's say, a duplex. There's 2 units. So my criteria, hi Stella, what's up? Thank you so much for the thumbs up. Yo, throw me another one of those or some hearts. I see some hearts in other people's stuff. Throw me one of those. Anyway, so as an example, you have a duplex, let's say, 2 units, and my criteria was I was going to jump on it if I could get $100 a month in cash flow per unit, per month. So 2 units, $200 per month in cash flow. So we'll talk about cash flow, and if you've even studied real estate at all, or you've been interested in real estate investing at all, you've probably heard some terms like cash flow or cash on cash return, debt service coverage ratio, debt coverage service ratio, or something like that. There's a bunch of terms, but for now, let's just focus on this investing side. Okay, I'm going to throw an example property at you guys, and this is not a real property, so don't hold me to these returns. Chris, what's up, man? Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Do some heart things. I love hearts. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this. To me, it's backwards. I wasn't expecting that, but for you, hopefully it's the correct way. Okay. Oh, real quick, before I leave the criteria, I just want to hammer that home real quick for you guys, because the criteria is so important, and the reason I'm emphasizing is because you could look at 10,000 properties. You could analyze 10,000 properties, but you still won't make the jump and offer on one because you don't know what you're looking for. I set my criteria at $100 a month per door per unit. And so when I was out analyzing property, the second that I analyzed one that met my criteria, that gave me the confidence to jump on that property and make an offer. And so that's why I just wanted to touch on that real quick again, the importance of the criteria, because you could be searching for years and never ultimately decide to make an offer because you don't know what it's worth to you. But for me, $100 a door per month, that works for me as a young person trying to get started. That might work for you too. So let's run through an example. This is a made-up property. I'm going to do like 1, 2, 3, your city, you know, whatever, California. So let's say that we're looking, because I like multifamily, so I'm going to stick with multifamily. So here's our example. We've got a triplex. So there's 3 units, and they're all 1 bedroom, 1 bath units, and they're all approximately 700 square feet. So that's the size. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 700 square feet. A little bit more about the property. We've got 3 electric meters, 3 gas meters, 1 water meter. We'll talk about that in a little bit. No pool. There's no amenities. There's no like workout facility. There's no spa. There's no amenities. Just a basic 1 bedroom, 1 bath house, a little apartment. And they're asking for this triplex $300,000. That's the purchase price. Okay, what's up, everybody? Cool. I'm seeing some hearts. See 6 people have joined us. You guys, thank you so much. I can't see who it is, so leave me a comment. Tell me where you're listening from. Chris, I know you're here in the Valley. Thanks, man. Raul, I know you're here locally, but some of these other people, let me know where you are. Leave a comment, and I'll give you a shout out. Okay, so here's our subject property. A sweet little triplex, all 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 700 square feet. They're asking $300,000. So the first thing that you want to do, and the reason that we're doing this in the first place, is we're looking for extra income. So we need to figure out exactly how much income three one-bedroom, one-bath units can bring in. And the best way to do that, and what realtors call it, is CMA, is a comparable market analysis, which is some fancy words for basically saying apples to apples or oranges to oranges, right? If you see on the market that a one-bedroom, one-bath house or apartment was just rented for $1,000 a month, you can reasonably assume that you're going to get $1,000 a month for your one-bedroom, one-bath apartment. And the reason that how you can find that out is going on the internet. Thank goodness we have the internet, right? You can go on any website like Zillow, Trulia, HotPads is a really good one, even Craigslist. And you can go on these websites and do a little bit of research, search for something similar to what you're analyzing, and you'll find out exactly what the rates are going for in your area. So let's just say, for simplicity's sake, in this area, we're getting $1,000 a month for a one-bedroom, one-bath apartment. So here's our income. We've got 3 units times $1,000 a month. So our total potential income then is $3,000 per month. You're a millionaire now, right? No, not really, because we haven't even touched on the expenses. But now we have an idea of the income potential for this property, because that's step one, right? You need to know and understand your potential income. In the apartment space, there are other opportunities for income, like laundry. Like if you've got a coin-operated laundry, or now you have credit card swiping operated laundry units, or you maybe have a storage facility that you rent out to your tenants. Those are other opportunities for income, but for simplicity's sake, we're just going to keep it at $1,000 a month for the unit. Cool. So now we know we can make $3,000 with this property, and the next step would be obviously to understand the expenses associated. You guys saw my video before. A lot of people don't think about the expenses associated with owning and operating. Sweet, I see the love. Thanks so much. So let's dig in that. Let's dig on these expenses. All right. I'm going to list them out for you guys. Okay. So I mentioned before that one of the great parts about real estate is using other people's money. You only have to use a little bit of your money, combine it with the bank's money or a private money investor or whatever, and that allows you to make your money work harder. Let's say that. So, but ultimately, if you do partner with a bank, you're going to get a loan, right? That 80%, or in my case, since I put 3.5% down, I was getting a loan for 97.5% of the purchase price. Pretty sweet. So let's dig in. If you have a loan, which most of you will, and if you're unlike me and you don't want to live in one of your units and then rent out the other ones while you're living there, you just want to buy a property that you have solely as an investment, the bank is most of the time going to require at least 20% down of the 20% of the purchase price as your down payment. Sometimes they're required 25%, obviously depending on your credit. But for simplicity's sake, let's use 20% down as our figure. So what does that mean? Your purchase price of $300,000, let's keep it simple. Let's say you're going to offer them $300,000. You're going to put then 20% down of $300K, which would be $60,000. So your money in would be $60,000, and the bank would give you a loan for $240,000. Okay, so when you get a loan, there are four elements that make up your monthly payment. When you hear somebody talk about their mortgage payment, there are most often 4 things that make up that payment. I'm going to write them out for you guys here. So these 4 things are let's see if I can write it big enough. principal and interest, your taxes, and your insurance. Those are your big four, your core four: principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. In real estate, we like the acronym PITI. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Makes sense. So, because you probably have not spoken with a lender and gone that far as to get pre-qualified yet, that's okay. I'm going to show you a quick little shortcut for how you can actually estimate these costs during your analysis. So let's start with the principal and interest. Really cool. You can just literally Google a mortgage calculator, and you want to look for one that says 30-year fixed mortgage calculator. And you can actually plug in the purchase price, the loan amount, and your down payment. It'll give you a general interest rate. In this case, we're just going to use 5% as our interest rate. Maybe I'll write that here. You see that better? Maybe not. 5% interest rate, and you can actually hit calculate, and it'll give you an estimated total for your principal and interest. And I've already done the math for you guys, and for a loan of $240,000 at a 5% interest rate, you're looking at an approximate, these are all approximations, guys, don't hold me to these things, I'm not a lender, your approximate principal and interest payment, and I'm rounding up because I want to keep it whole numbers for you, is $1,300. So that's 2 out of your core 4. Let's keep going. Chris, how do you calculate your taxes? Well, thank you, internet, again. You can actually Google your county assessors, like assessor, double S's, county assessor's website. And because it's public information, you can actually see the property taxes that almost any home, I'm pretty sure any home in the country is paying. And a little quick shortcut, when you do that, you can actually search the property address that you're analyzing, and bang, you'll know that the annual taxes for that property. I'm going to use it for this example. I'm just going to use a number that I know in the city of Indio. The property tax rate is 1.212% of the purchase price. There are some special assessments involved in addition to that cost, but for the sake of this example, we're going to keep it simple. So again, purchase price of $300,000. We're going to apply our 1.212% tax rate, and that totals to like $3,600. Divide that by 12 because that's your annual and we want to get monthly. So you divide that by 12 months, and that gives us approximately, and I rounded for this one, $300 per month in taxes. Insurance is another one of those things where, you know, if you probably just getting started, you have not met with an insurance guy or gal and you haven't got a quote on insurance, that's fine. A little tip or the strategy that I use, because even I who have a relationship with an insurance provider, it's tough when I'm trying to analyze a property and make a quick jump on something, for me to send them the property, wait for me to get their quote back. That's too long sometimes. And so what I have, my general rule of thumb that I use for my own analysis is I take the square footage of the property and I divide that by 2. So in this case, we've got 3 units. They're each 700 square feet. 700 times 3 is 2,100. Divide that by 2, and that's 1,050. Let's round it up to an even 1,100 for simplicity's sake. Divide that by 12, I think it's like $90. So let's keep it simple and just round that up to 100 for our insurance. And the reason I'm doing so much rounding up, guys, is because I'm a conservative person financially through my whole life. And when it comes to analysis like this, I strongly recommend you to get some of that conservativeness in yourself. You know, you want these, at the end of the day, we're doing this for the cash flow. We're doing this for the profit at the end of every month. And you want to leave yourself some flexibility, right? I mean, if you're banking on getting $100 a month, and one month let's say your insurance rate goes up $20 a month, you want to have some flexibility in your numbers so that your expenses that you've already allocated can eat up that cost instead of your cash flow having to eat up that cost. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, please shoot me a comment, tell me to slow down, or ask me a question. Okay, so bam, we got our core 4, right? We're done, right? Not exactly. And I wish we were, because this would be sweet, right? That's not a lot compared to that 3,000. Unfortunately, a lot of investors actually do consider this to be done. And like I said in that video I did previously, a lot of people neglect or just flat out don't consider some of these other expenses that we're going to go over right here. But since we just got done with the core 4, these are what make up, again, like I said, the typical mortgage payment, monthly payment to the bank. What's nice is when you get a loan, they actually put all these things combined into one payment. So after the fact, when you do close on the property, it's actually just calculated as one payment that you make to one person. It makes it a whole lot easier. You're not keeping track of 4 different things. So that's cool. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm not going to slow down. I'm just going to keep going. Thank you so much for the love on the side there. Oh my gosh. My phone is low on battery. That sucks. Okay, let's keep going. Next up, the utilities. Let's think about things that are associated with people just living in a home generally. People use electricity, they use gas, they use water. And like we talked about before, you've got 3 electrical units and you've got 3 gas meters and 1 water meter. That basically means that you've got 3 units, 3 electrical meters. So you can separate and ask the tenant to pay for their own electricity. Awesome. You can do the same thing for your gas because you've got 3. So each unit has their own individual meter for electricity and for gas. But water only has 1. So what do you do for water? Well, most of the time the owner actually eats the cost of the water. So you, in this example, are going to be paying the utilities for the water. So there's one. What's another thing? Well, if you want to pay for landscaping and you don't want to be the one that's out there mowing lawns, you got to think about that. That's another cost monthly. And what about pest control? I spray my property on the exterior once a month because I don't like bugs in my house and I don't want my residents to have bugs in their house. So I pay for that as well. And so a good general rule of thumb for the utilities is using 5% of the rental income a month. So to $3,000 a month, we're going to take 5% of that, and so that equals $150 that we're going to set aside every month to pay for the utilities. Okay, what's next? What's another thing that typically you need to associate with owning, with people living in a house? Well, things break down, right? I mean, sometimes there's a small leak. Sometimes the garbage disposal gets jammed up and you got to call a handyman. Sometimes, a light bulb needs to be replaced. Hopefully you've had the conversation with your tenants that they should replace their own light bulbs, or maybe you're the proactive landlord like me who puts in brand new light bulbs before your new tenant comes in, so you can avoid that completely. Beside the point, one of the things that I strongly recommend, hi Sherry, thanks so much for watching. I hope my phone doesn't die, that would be super embarrassing. Okay, real quick, so repairs and maintenance. I'm going to ask you guys to think about repairs and maintenance ahead of time. These are just day-to-day things that happen when you're living in a house. Things generally break at some point randomly, and you don't want your cash flow to get eaten up having to pay for those things. So I'm recommending that you take 10% of your rental income every month, set it aside for those repairs and maintenance that are going to happen. You're going to have leaks. You're going to have things that you need to replace. These are these small, everyday things. Hi, Bree. Thanks so much. She's a good girlfriend. So these repairs and maintenance, these are the small items that just happen and happen often. Unfortunately, it's just part of living life, right? So we're going to add, I recommend you save 10% of your monthly rental income. 10% of the 3,000 is $300. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Another thing that I recommend all of my investors consider is what we call capital expenditures. Another word for that, and a shortcut on that is CAPX. But what it really means is your capital reserves. So your money that you're setting aside for the big ticket items. And when I say big ticket, I'm not talking about your everyday leak or like water, or like a garbage disposal or a handyman needing to come over. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the roof needing to get repaired. We're talking about needing to replace an AC system. And if you think about it, when you got 3 units, that's 3 AC units that you potentially would have to fix at some point in time. So I recommend we get, I'm going to use CAPX as the abbreviation, and I recommend you set aside 5% every month, or $150 of your rental income every month. Set that aside for those big ticket items that will eventually happen. You know, a roof's not going to go out every year, but maybe every 10 years. Your AC unit, if you get 10 years out of that thing, that'd be sweet. But you know, those are things that those are those big ticket items that you want to allow yourself time to save for in the event that it definitely will happen. So don't be one of those people that hopes it never happens, because it will absolutely happen. And that's why I recommend that you set aside this money from your rental income every month. Okay, last thing that you guys, I want you to be aware of and consider. It's called vacancy. And I recommend a 5% number. This is a market number. You know, some people live in an area where 10% is more. Hi Sandra, thanks for the wave. Wave back at you, appreciate it. Okay, so I was on vacancy. I use 5%, but what vacancy means is at some point you're gonna have a unit where you have a tenant in there and they're gonna move out. And the time it takes for that, the time between that person moving out and the new person moving in is what you call your vacancy. And it happens, you know, it's difficult to have somebody move in the day somebody moves out, right? I mean, that is excellent planning, and there are people who do it, and it's a goal I'm gonna have, but sometimes you don't have that flexibility with the current tenant to allow showings. For whatever the reason, if you are in a position where you cannot rent that unit immediately, then there is some vacancy. And if you go vacant, let's say for 1 month, that means you gotta come out of your pocket to make that payment. And so you want to make sure that every month you're setting aside money outside of your rental income in the event that you do get a vacancy. Because if you're vacant for 1 month and you have to pay $1,000 and you're only cash flowing $100 a month, well, you paying that $1,000, you basically just lost 10 months of cash flow. That sucks. So that's why I absolutely recommend setting aside 5% or another $150 for your cash flow. Are you showing on the wall is backwards? I did not know that. I don't know why it's backwards. I'm just writing normally. You'd think they would be able to fix that on Facebook. I don't know. I will do better next time. Thanks, Andrew, for pointing that out. What I'm showing. Yeah, I don't know why it's backwards. I apologize for everybody. I will do this again and it'll be even better. But bear with me, we're almost done. Okay, so now that we've listed out all of the expenses, you got your principal and interest, your taxes, your insurance, the utilities paid by the owner. I appreciate it, Sandra, thank you. You've got, set aside money for future repairs and maintenance. You've set aside money for those big ticket items. And you set aside money just in case you're vacant for 1 month. That totals up, I've done the math for you guys, $2,450 in expenses. And that's every month. Hopefully you can see that even though it's backwards. So property generates $3,000 a month, and your expenses every month even with saving all these things, is only $2,450. So what does that tell you? Well, hopefully you can see this. It tells me that left over every month is a total of $550. And that you could call your profit, you can call your cash flow. You've done it. That's a great deal. I would buy that deal. That exceeds my $100 per month per unit criteria, right? Because we've got 3. So I'd be looking for deals where I'm getting $300 a month. This is showing $550 in cash flow every month. That's over $6,000 a year that you could be putting in your pocket relatively passively. Now again, just a real quick caveat. This is for properties that you are managing yourself. If you want to pay a management company to manage this property for you so that you're completely hands off, I would definitely allocate another 10% for that. So another $300, and that would actually put our number at our cash flow number at only $250. So that would be below my criteria, but maybe it fits yours. But so again, the one thing I did not factor in here is management. So if you want to manage this yourself, you could sit with $550 a month. Maybe that's enough for you to want to manage it. That's awesome. Other people want to be completely passive. They don't want to deal with managing rental property. And so in that case, I absolutely recommend during your analysis stage, you make another line of expense for management. Okay. Well, hey guys, my phone's dying. This is my first time trying this live thing. I hope you learned something. Send me a message or leave me another comment. Let me know how I did. I'm going to try and do these twice a month. They're going to be on different topics. The next one I'm going to do is specifically for first-time home buyers and talking about the different loan programs available to you. But anyway, hey, thank you so much. I can't believe people actually showed up to watch this. I hope I was able to clearly explain some of this information. I know it can be a lot, and not to mention it's backwards. That probably was tough. But thank you guys so much, and I hope you learned something. And I'll see you next time. Appreciate it.